Hello? Please, I hope you can see my screen.
Yeah, we can.
All right. Well, good evening once again. Um, as I made mention earlier in the week, today we are starting with Earth Engine, Google Earth Engine, or in short, we will say GE. Yeah. So I want to use today to run through an overview and introduction to Earth Engine. Then in our next session, we'll dive into the real codes, right? All right. Okay. So I'll start by this image that we are seeing on your screens. So these are satellites. We have a lot of satellites orbiting around the Earth. And all these satellites are taking footage on the Earth, right? So Earth Engine is like a repository where some of these images are being archived. They are pre-processed and archived for um, analysis or for scientific use or for uh, experimental or anything like any analysis that you want to for remote sensing applications, anything that you would like to use the images for. These are made free. And as we stand now, Earth Engine has almost about 50 petabytes worth of Earth observation data. Is that huge? So they have 50 petabytes um, worth of Earth observation data hosted on their servers. So like what you see here, so like these are like servers that like process all the analysis, uh, all the analysis or all the applications that you develop on Earth Engine. Like you have like this powerful workstations that process your data or the products that you'll be running on your Earth Engine. Okay, so Earth Engine is in two phases or is in two parts. We have the JavaScript side and we have the Python side. So Earth Engine, Earth Engine serves two APIs. That's the application programming interface. It has the JavaScript API and it also has the Python side. If you are good with Python, you can go with the Python side. If you're also good with JavaScript, you can choose to do the JavaScript. Yeah. But for the purpose of this mentorship program, in the first phase, we are going to use just the JavaScript. Then, if you are good with Python, you can just Google around. You'll get some libraries or some materials online, which will help you execute similar tasks in your Google Colab or your Jupyter notebooks. Yeah. Okay, so I would like to talk about the data catalog on Earth Engine. Okay, so in Earth Engine, we have Landsat, we have Sentinel-1 and 2, and these data sets are being collected weekly. We have MODIS, we have some vector data sets which are being uploaded by some developers or some um, specialists or some people who have developed products that they would like to share with the world. So, currently it's open source. So people just come in there and upload their data sets. We also have terrain and land cover, which I'll be demonstrating some of these products to you when we get to the Earth Engine. We also have climate data sets, all hosted on Earth Engine. And when you go to Earth Engine, you can also upload your own raster or vector data set. Let's say you've been able to run let's say a land use land cover over your country. Let me take like a typical example of Ghana. I've been able to run a land use land cover of Ghana, the whole of Ghana, and let's say the resolution is, let's say, 2 centimeters. Assuming the image I had is 2 centimeters, I've been able to run that, and it gave me a perfect, like a good product, and I want to share with the world, so that if anybody wants to run analysis on any land use land cover, the person can just pick up my product and use it for free. You can just go to Earth Engine and upload your raster data, your products there. If you have any vector data set that you also want to share with the public, you can get it there. And currently we have almost about 200 public data sets that you can chance on and use it for your personal stuff. And they are for free. And almost 4,000 new images every day, like being uploaded every day. Okay, so let's just touch base on the interface. So when you've been able to register or have an account on Earth Engine, these are some of this is the first interface that you see. So like over here, you only see like the map side. Where you'll be writing the code is in there. It has been collapsed up there. But what you can see here is you have, let me bring the mouse here if it's a bit okay. So over here is a search bar for searching products. So let's say you're interested in Landsat, you're interested in Sentinel, you're interested in Modis, you're interested in DEMs, depending on the data sets that you are interested, you can just go in there and just type whatever that you want to search on the, if only it's in the repository, it's going to come out. Yeah. And all your visualization, if you call any image or run any analysis and you want to visualize, you see that in this space. Okay. All right, let me move on. So what this the whole Earth Engine, this is how the interface looks like. The whole Earth Engine, this is how the interface looks like. So as you can see, on the left side, okay, yeah, it's also on your left side. So on the left side of the screen where the mouse is, we have 3 tabs. We have the scripts, we have the docs, we have the assets. Let me take each of these tabs and explain what these tabs are meant for. So when you take the script manager, that's the scripts tab. These is a personal repository, kind of a repository where you can save all your scripts that you'll be writing on Earth Engine. So you can archive them, or you can archive them in under the scripts tab. You can also arrange them. I usually arrange my scripts and depending on the kind of project I'm working on. So let's say you are working on a project for, let's say, USAID, and you want to keep all your scripts under that project. You create like kind of like, I'll say, a folder in a layman's way. You create a folder, a repository called, let's say, USAID. Then you get all your scripts created under that folder. In that case, it organizes your scripts. I'll show you a typical example. All right. Then when you come to docs, the API documentation, every API comes with the documentation. And Earth Engine is one of the applications that I would say has a very concise and comprehensive documentation. Yeah. Anything that you want to, like any function that you want to use in Earth Engine, the moment you search for it under the API documentation tab, you'll get it. And I'll demonstrate that when I get to the interface. Okay. Let's move to the next one. And we have the asset manager. And the asset manager is another let me say, is a repository to save your product. So let's say you have a shape file that you want to use for analysis. You can upload your shape file into your assets. If you have a KML If you have a CSV that you want to use in your scripting or in your product, you can also upload it into your assets. Maybe you've run a product. Let's say you've been able to classify, run a land use land cover over an area, and you want to save the product. You can save the product in the assets, so that anytime that you need that product, you can just call the name of the product and you use it in your Earth Engine. Same way, if you want to export the data out of Earth Engine, you can export it into your Google Drive account and you can download the product. All right, so let's move to the middle. And in the middle over here, like where the mouse is hovering, this is where you write your codes. Right? This is where you write your codes. So all the scripting, this is where the magic happens. All your scripting will go under that. And on top here, you will see a get link. This get link helps you to share your script with others. Let's say you are working on a product, or you've written a script, and a colleague of yours is also working on a similar product, and needs your script, and you would like to share with your colleague. You just have to open your code and click on get link. It will generate a link for you, and you can share with your friend. Right? Yeah. And as any application, there is save. So if you write your script and you want to save in your script manager, you click on save and it saves into your script manager. We have a button here called labeled run, and the run helps you to execute the script that you've written. We have a reset to reset the interface. Okay, and we also on the right side we have the inspector tool. So if you want to find or get a value of a pixel on the image or on the image, any product that you've loaded, when you click on that, when you come to the inspector tool or the inspector tab and you click on anywhere on the map, it gives you the value on that pixel that you've clicked, and which I'll be demonstrating. And we have the console. If all your outputs if you want to output any output that you want, maybe you want to, like, you've written a code, you want to print out something, see the value that is coming out. It comes or it appears under the console. And we also have tags, and the tags manager handles all the background tags. So let's say if you want to run a certain analysis, or you want to run export let me take a typical example of an export. We were trying to export an image, right, into your assets, and the image is very huge. The moment you execute the script and it comes to the script manager and you execute the tags under the script manager and you put off your machine, the tags is still running on the servers. So when you come back again and the thing is not done, you will see the tags still processing. Even if you shut your machine down and you come back, you switch your machine on and you go back to Earth Engine. If that task is not done, you see it's running. Until it's done, you see the loader spinning in there. And when you come to the bottom here, we have the map window, which I've already mentioned. So in the map window, as you can see, I uploaded some data set and image here. And as we are all the spatial inclined, we are used to these tools, the zoom in tools and the drawing tools, together with the pan tool. And we have this panel here. This is where you see all your layers that you've added to the map. And as Google JS or Map.js, yeah, you definitely see them giving you these two base maps. So you can switch in between the Google Street Map or the satellite image, as you see here. Okay, so I want us to talk to just dive into the spatial analysis concepts a little bit, and we will come back to the interface. So let's talk. Let's go through some of the data models that we have. We have, like, unlike any other GIS application, we have lines, we have points, we have polygons, right? So, like a typical example, what you see here, like these are vector data sets. I think I missed the point here. So, supposed to so you can load your vector data sets here. All right. So, like the vector data sets, you can either load a line, a point, or a polygon. All right. So, when you the other data type that you can also interact or load on Earth Engine, like the images, right? And these images, this is a typical stack of images in Earth Engine. So you can see in Earth Engine, you see all these layer data images stacked together, and you can have a draw through. So let's say this is day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6. You can run a time series analysis on these images. So let's say you want to see the changes that has happened here. You can go through this area and see what has happened there, the changes that has happened there. And all can be done in Earth Engine. All right. And each image that you see here, each band has its own, like the image you see here, each band has its own maps, it has its own projections, it has its own resolution, and a list of properties, including the dates, the bounding box, and so on. And there is a collection. So if you see something like this, like what I showed earlier and this, so this is an image collection. So with the image collection, these are some of the functions you can run on. So you can either filter, you can sort, you can join, you can map, or you can reduce. And I'll touch base on all these things one after the other when we get into the practical section. All right. So this is an illustration to show you that in Earth Engine, you can run a pixel by pixel computation. So you can run computation on the images, right? And in the same way, you can also run reduction. So you have stack of images, you can reduce that image to one by using either the mean or using the median and so on. And we will touch base on all these compositing functions. All right. And in Earth Engine, when you see map with a small letter, it's not the map you know, right? It's not the map you know. So it's like you applying a function to each element in the collection. I know when we were learning the JavaScript, Jedida made mention of loops. You can loop through an element. So let's say you have this image here, right? And you want to apply a certain function. That function contains scripts to compute NDVI on an image. So you can map that function to this image collections, and it's going to compute the NDVI for each of these images. So a typical example is what you see here. So the map will just apply the function to each element in the collection. So if the function, you've written a function, and the function is to compute an area for each of the feature, it can do that. Let's say the function is supposed to remove cloud cover from each of these images. the moment you use map, it can do that. Same for mosaic and the other functions that we'll be looking at. Right. So reduction is the same. I wouldn't talk more about this. Let me move on to the last slide. So Earth Engine. So these are, I just listed some of the things you can use Earth Engine for. So you can see Earth Engine can be used for Earth observation data visualization, can be used for per pixel computation, machine learning, which for the purpose of this mentorship program, we are going to use we will be doing classification. Yeah, we'll be touching based on classification, using the algorithms, the random forest, the SVM, and the LSM or LSV. Yeah, we'll be touching based on all those algorithms when we get to that point. We'll be talking more on reduction and segmentation. It's also used for neighborhood operations, that's convolutions. And you can also run time series analysis or using Earth Engine. And you can also build an application using Earth Engine. So if you want to you design a product and you want your users to interact with the product, you want it to be more interactive, you can get a UI to it so that the user can come in, select the image or select your product, select some regions, and do some computation. You can do all that in Earth Engine. And in all the products that you generate out of Earth Engine can be exported. Same way, if you have a product and you want to run in use it in Earth Engine, you can import it into Earth Engine. So this is a little overview of Earth Engine. I'll quickly switch to my Earth Engine slide, then we can start that session. If you have any question, you can just note it down right after this PowerPoint presentation. I'll open the floor for questions. Let me quickly open that. Okay, so as I made mention in my first presentation, Earth Engine is made up of um, two APIs. That's the JavaScript API and the Python API, right? So as I made mention earlier, for the purpose of presentation, we are going to tackle just the JavaScript for this program. Later on, maybe in our subsequent sections, you might start based on the Python API. Okay. Okay, so I've already explained the slide, but I promise to show you. Let me quickly go into my Earth Engine and let's have some little practical, just to familiarize ourselves with the interface for the purpose of those of us who are new to Earth Engine. So this is the interface I was explaining. So you can see here. You can see here on the left side. So this is the scripts tab that you are seeing here. So you can see I've organized my scripts according to the kind of project I've worked on, right? So under each project, you can see you have like the scripts that I wrote under each of them. Okay, so this is the scripter. So you can see you can easily organize your script. So you create a repository or you create a folder. You can create a repository, and under the repository you create a folder, and within the folders you can archive your stuffs in there. Yeah, which you can experiment that at your end. And this is where I was talking about. For the purpose of this whole mentorship program, usually when I'm teaching people on Earth Engine, I prefer teaching them using the documentation, the API documentation. So anything that I use, so let's say if I'm writing a script, I say map.add layer. I'll come here for us to see map how that function is being used, right? So you come here and say, okay, map.add layer. It means you have to add an object and a visualization parameter. You add a name. So when you click on this, this is going to teach you how to use that particular function. So this is how I'm going to teach you. So going forward, when we start scripting, I'll be pointing you to this documentation, and this will help you a lot. Well, when I started learning Earth Engine, I came to the documentation. The documentation opened my eyes in a lot of things. And up to now, I still sometimes use the documentation. But at times I want to do something. I see somebody's script online, and if I'm not getting anything in that script, I just copy the function, come to the documentation, and see what the person was trying to do with that particular script. In that case, if you want to customize the script to meet your needs, you're able to do that. That is if you understand all the functions being used in someone's script. And as I always tell my students I teach, the thing is already there. There is no need for you to reinvent the wheel, right? There's nothing new under the sun. Anything that you want to do, somebody has already done something before. It's good to learn the basics. So I usually try and encourage my students to try as much as possible to understand the basics. The moment you understand the basics and you grab it, it is easier for you to customize any script that you chance on. But if you don't understand, if you don't take your time to understand the basics, it will be difficult for you to even customize someone's script, let alone you writing your own script from scratch. So this is something that I'm entreating each and every one of you to learn as we go on. I'll be pointing you to these materials, and when you go to these materials, trust me, at the end of the day, you appreciate whatever that we are teaching. Okay, so as I made mention, this is like the documentation, API documentation. All right, so when it comes to the asset works is just like the script. But here's the case, in this case, the asset keeps your vector data, your images, your products that you've generated. You can export them to your assets, right? Anything that's like all your products can be exported here. If you have shape files that you want to use, you can import them here. So here is like you archiving your shape files, your PML, your CSVs, your images that you've generated out of Earth Engine or outside Earth Engine that you want to use in Earth Engine. Okay, and here is where you write your scripts. So here is where you write your scripts. Okay, so you can just write your scripts here. And this is the button to run your script. So I'll come to this part. So you can see I've written a script here. I clicked on the run, and it has printed hello world here for me. All right. And we have the get link. So assuming I've saved this script, this is a new script. I've saved this script and I want to share with someone. When I click on the get link, this is what I was talking about. So it will generate a link for you, and all that you need to do is to just click on this button, it will be copied, and whoever that you want to share with, you can just share the data with them, like just what I've done on the page. So I just share the link on the Telegram page. And anyone at all can see, anyone who hits on this script will see this hello world that I've written in there. All right. And I spoke about apps. Yeah, so in Earth Engine, you can create your own application and publish it. Right. So when you publish your application, it will be here, and you can share the link with your colleagues. Let me see if I have a typical app that has been generated. Let's check this one out. Let's see. Okay, I think this is a typical application that we worked on some time ago at my previous place where I used to work. Someone, I think they inherited the script from one professor. So, like, this is a typical application that has been generated. So the user can click anywhere. It's been a while I use this. Yeah. Let me see how it works. So click to calculate the composite. Okay. Well, so like this is what I was talking about. This is what I was talking about. You can see um, the UI here, and the user can interact with the UI. Right. So here you wouldn't see any scripts in here. Okay. Let's go back to our screen. So definitely we are going to publish one application before we finish this session. Yeah, so we'll come back here. And over here, let me touch base on the inspector. So let's say if when you come to the inspector, the mouse pointer changes to a crosshair, which is trying to tell you that anywhere you click on the map, it is going to give you the value there. So even though I have not loaded any image here, but when I click on it, it gives me the coordinates. Okay. Yeah. So when I load an image here, when we start loading the image, I don't want to jump the gun. When we start loading our images and we start scripting, I will show you how this tool is used. You can use the tool to get the value of a particular pixel that you've clicked on. And the console, as I made mention earlier, anything that you want to print out, it shows here. When you have an error, let me create an error for us to see how an error looks like. So the moment you start typing and you see this mark on this sign, the X sign with the red background, it means that whatever code that you are writing or you put there or you pasted there has an issue. So you have to look at it. And usually it gives you a hint. It's trying to tell you that missing colon before the statement. Okay, let's put it there. That's not the issue. There are a lot of issues with it. So you will see that there is an issue with the scripts. But in other words, this is not the issue. The issue is I'm supposed to bring a bracket. But the moment you click on run, you forgo this warning sign and you click on run, you see this error, syntax error, unexpected. And usually when you get an error, it tells you where the error is. Right? It tells you where the error is. So it points you direct to where you are supposed to look at and fix the error. Right. Okay. Let's go to the tags. So over here, I don't have tags. Yeah, it's been a while. I executed the tags. Like you would have seen the list of tags that has completed here. And currently I don't have, but when we start exporting the data, you see that here. Okay, let's come back to our presentation. So I think we've touched base on everything. Oh, sorry. Let's come back. Let's come back. Let's come back. I think I forgot to type. Yeah. So this is the, so as we can see here, we have the Google map, the street map here. You can switch in between the maps. You can switch in between the street map and the satellite image. And over here too, we have the drawing tools. We have the point, we have the line, we have the polygon, and we have the rectangle. Right. Yeah. And these tools can be used to, yeah. So as you can see, the moment you draw, it generates the code for you here. All right. And we'll be using that a lot. Yeah, we'll be using that a lot. Okay. All right. So let's get into this JavaScript um, API. So as I made the JavaScript, and now I know by now we've all gone through our JavaScript video, or the materials were shown when Jed was taking you through the JavaScript. Earth Engine, the JavaScript API was built on JavaScript. So if you are conversant with JavaScript, this shouldn't be an issue with for you. Let me come back to our. Let me close this tabs. We don't need it. Okay. All right. So we want to. So at this point, I'm expecting you to open your code editor to type in something. So we started the practical. I wanted us to do an hour today so that we continue next week. So let's just do the basics and yeah, think that. So let me give you 1 minute for you to launch your Earth Engine so that we don't leave anyone behind. Okay. All right. So let's type in. I've already typed that. So you print and you say print your name. So I'll say Ernest. So if you want to output anything in Earth Engine, you use print. So when I say print Ernest, it's going to output Ernest in the console for me. So that's Ernest. So this is a string. And any item you see in quotation is a string. And the reason why I didn't touch base on these things is because we've already taught it in our previous sessions. We taught that in JavaScript, we taught that in Python, introduction to Python. So I intentionally skipped some of these things, but we've been taught already. All right. So that's like, this is a basic script you can run, print. Let's move on to the next slide. I want to move according to how I've arranged the slides. Okay, so in Ethan or in JavaScript, we have something we call variables. And when we started this whole mentorship program, started coding, you've been hearing variables. And I know some of you might be asking yourselves, what is this variable that these guys are mentioning? Yeah. So variables are like containers for storing elements, right? So in every programming language, you hear variable, right? You hear variable. So you hear someone saying, "Oh, I gave this value to this variable." In other words, it's trying to tell you that I saved that value in that variable or in that container. So variables are like container. In JavaScript, the variables are usually declared using the var. So let's come to our code editor. Okay. So I want to declare a variable called name. So I'll say var. If you want to declare any variable, you start with var. So I'll say var name, right? And I'll say var name is equals to Then you put in your name there. So I'll say Ernest Opoku. Okay. Then I run. You wouldn't see anything. This is a warning trying to tell me that the name, var name, missing semicolon. This is not an error. So it's a warning. I don't know why. This, okay, forget about that warning. So it's a var name is equals to Ernest. Now, when I print name, it's going to give me Ernest Opoku. So let's say you have a very long name. You have a very long name. And you don't want to be calling this that anytime you want to call your name, you don't want to write the whole name. You can just write the name once, assign it to a variable. Anytime you need this name, you just call it. Okay, so you can a variable, you can assign a number, you can assign a list, you can assign a dictionary, you can assign a dictionary on an object, you can assign an array to a variable. So let's have a typical example here. I'm going to declare a variable. So I'll say variable a is equals to 5, and I'm saying variable of var b is equals to 6. And I know you were taking through some of these basics in JavaScript, introduction to JavaScript. Now I see var c is equals to a plus b, right? And I come down and I say, okay, print c. When I click on run, I'm going to get 11. And someone will ask, why 11? We are saying that variable a is equals to 5, but the variable b is equals to 6. So when I call a and I add a to b, I'm going to get 11. And the 11 was saved into c. That is our container, our variable c. So when I call c, it's going to give me the summation of a and b. I hope it's clear. All right. So these are like typical example of the use of variables. In the same way, you can also declare a variable called, let's say, my list. And you can have in here Kofi. You can have in here John. You can have in here Jed. You can have in here 35 or 32. You can have in here 7. You can have in here 0. So anytime I need, oh, sorry. Anytime I need to print this, I need to call this list. I can easily, let me just print out my list. So when I print my list, you see the value here. So it's telling you this is a list, and lists are being given it like list has an index. So you have index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first item is index 0. The second item is index 1. index 2, index 3, index 4, index 5. And this is how you usually call them. You call the items in the list. And I know this has already been taught in JavaScript lessons and in Python too. So I wouldn't go into details. All right, so let's move on. All right, so these are some of the operations you can use in JavaScript. You can use the modulus. You can use addition. You can use multiplication, subtraction, exponent, division, and not, if, or else. If so, the conditional statement. If else, you can use that also in JavaScript. So this is like I'll share the I'll push all these documents into our GitHub repository and our Earth Engine, and you can have access to the PowerPoint. I wouldn't dive into these. We are all used to this operational science. Okay, and one key thing that I want you to also look here, look at when you are developing, when you see a double sign or equal sign, so like what you see here is equal. If you are trying to compare something, so this says it returns true if the operands are equal. So these are used when you are trying to compare items, two items, right? So if you want to check if it's not equal to, this is how you have to, like this is the symbol. Greater than, greater or equal to, less than, less or equal to. And this is or. In Python, if you want to write or, you just have to write small o and r. Right? In JavaScript, you use the two pipes. Okay, let's move on. I think our time is even up, but let's finish this license. And you can also use these operators. So this you see here is equal to. So in F engine, if you see EQ is equal to, when you see JT is greater than, when you see JTE is greater than or equal to, when you see LT is less than, and when you see LTE is less than or equal to. So a typical example is what I've snapshot here. So you can see over here, we declared a variable called collection, and we are calling an image collection. This is the Landsat 8 image, top of atmosphere. And we are saying that filter all images, right? That has a property, this attribute, WRS path, that is equal to 44. And also, they have the image should also have a WRS row that is equal to what? 34. So this is equal to, so it's going to go into this image collections and filter out all the images that meet this criteria. Right. So you'll be seeing this a lot in the scripts that we'll be writing, or when you even go online, you see a lot of these. Okay, so these are like mathematical operations, like objects that you can be using. So the math random, it will just pick random number. This will be one of your assignments. You can go through this, and it's easy. When you want to run up, so I cited an examples here, which I think is straightforward for you to understand. So math run. So I'm saying round this figure 4.7. If you are rounding, it will give you 5. But if I put a comma and let's say 2, it's going to keep it to 2 decimal place, right? And over here, and here you apply your mathematics. Here is because you are getting 5 here because it's more than 5. Like it's more than 4. It's more than 4. That's why you're getting 5. So it rounds it to the nearest whole number. Over here is 4. So it's rounds it to the nearest whole number. That is 4. So you should get the difference. All right. And if you also want to use the square root, pi, and we all remember a pi r square, the pi that we know in mathematics. This is how it's being written in JavaScript. And e constant, that is also how it's written. All right, so some basic data types in JavaScript. I think I've already made mention. So we have the strings, we have the numbers, we have the list, we have dictionary, we have objects. Dictionary and objects are usually used interchangeably. And we also have the functions. And I like writing functions because functions makes a coding much more I'll say easier, and it makes it more efficient. You don't need to be repeating codes in your script. You write one function and you can apply it to a lot of stuff. So I'll be showing you how to write some of these functions. So at this point, I'll pause here and continue, God willing, on Monday. So at this point, I'm going to open the floor for questions. And yeah, I'll tackle these questions and continue, God willing, Monday. So please, the floor is open for questions. If you have any question, you can just put it in the chat. Okay, since we are all quiet, and I think we all understand. Like I know, majority of us are used to Earth Engine here, so these are like basic stuff for you. Yeah, but we are doing this for the purpose of there are those of us who know not like who are just new, our beginners in Earth Engine. That's why we are going through all these basic stuffs before we get to uh, the real stuffs. Yeah. So thank you very much for your time this evening, and let's keep practicing. God willing, Monday we'll continue with our session, and Monday will be practical. So let's prepare. Like Monday will be there will be a lot of practical. So let's prepare, and I'll push the documents online so that those of us who are interested can just get them and go through even before Monday. All right. So thank you very much once again, and stay blessed. All right. Bye bye. Good night.